I know that we're working on 1920s recipes and that this apron is definitely a 70s apron, but let's just get a little appreciation for this. Isn't this so adorable? My girl Diane pointed this out to me at a church sale, and I'm really grateful she did because it is so stinking cute. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are working on week 38 of our 52 Sunday dinners in the Women's World recipe book from the 1920s. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Ashley. I'm a registered dietitian and I also have an antique business. I'm combining those two loves to bring you this project where we recreate one Sunday dinner every week out of a cookbook that I found in an antique shop a while ago. We're gonna do all 52 recipes. Some of you I have seen were a little bit confused about where to find weeks 1 through 30 because we started with, I believe, 31, and they are not out yet. We started this project in the summer and I could not wait until January to start sharing this with you guys. So we're actually just going to kind of work our way through 2023 and come back around into 2024. So if you want to start at week 1, you're just gonna have to wait until January 2024. This is also the first video that I am recording after so many of you found the channel and offered some really amazing advice. So there's a little bit of that advice that I'm going to be using today. And if you have anything else that you're seeing in this video, some of the things maybe I am doing a little too modern, and things that maybe you remember from your parents or grandparents doing in some of these recipes in the 20s, please feel free to shout it out down in the comments and help all of us out. Share some of that knowledge that you have with us. Otherwise, we'll never learn. You've also shared a lot of really wonderful things and amazing stories about some of these recipes that kick up memories for you, and I would love to hear more about that. So please share your stories with us. I think that we're building a community here, and it's an amazing thing for us to all share our stories together. Let's take a look at what we'll be making today, and then we'll head into the kitchen. It's going to start with oyster soup, then a veal loaf, Kentucky potatoes, lima beans, lettuce salad with Russian dressing, cream cheese and crackers, syruped figs with nut meats, and coffee. And we've already had the cream cheese and crackers a little while ago, so we're gonna skip over that. The majority of the work will be done tomorrow, but we are gonna do a little bit of prep today. We're going to soak our lima beans. We're going to get that Russian dressing ready, and one of you gave me an excellent hint or some advice on what to try instead of mayonnaise, because if this is not your first video, you know that I do not like mayonnaise and it seems to kind of ruin some of the things for me. So we're gonna try her suggestion with some sweetened sour cream, probably that tomato sauce, and we'll see if there's anything else we can do ahead of time, but most of it will be done tomorrow. Let's throw our aprons on and get into the kitchen. Looking at this recipe, what I assume that they would like is fresh lima beans. Now, I don't have any in the area that I'm at. Maybe some of you have some fresh lima beans, or maybe some of you guys are even growing them, which is even better. Someday I would like to make the time to have a nice, big, beautiful garden, but so far I've been blessed with a brown thumb, not a green one. I just wanted to show you, look at how cute this logo is. I love it. Kind of makes me almost not want to even open this bag because it is so cute. We're definitely going to open it, we have to, but because I could not find the fresh, we are going with dried, obviously, and because they are dried, we're going to soak them overnight. That was probably, or is probably, way too many, and I probably should have just soaked maybe half of that, but I love lima beans, so I think maybe we'll just go ahead and make all of them, and then maybe I'll eat that throughout the week. I'm really excited to try this substitute for the Russian dressing, If this is not your first time watching this, as I said before, you know that I do not like mayonnaise. And I also, in a lot of these recipes, I feel very guilty when food gets wasted. And so a lot of these recipes that are calling for mayonnaise, I have tried to, regardless of whether I like it or not, I've tried to still eat some of it so it doesn't all go to waste. And I know my ducks and chickens will eat it just fine. They'll be happy that I am wasting it, but I really don't want to waste food where I don't have to. And so Carla suggested that I try some sour cream in place of the mayonnaise. And I've substituted that in a lot of modern recipes. I will use yogurt, plain yogurt, in place of that mayo. Not only because I like the flavor better, but it also, if I use plain Greek yogurt, it bumps up that protein a lot and helps me get a little bit more protein where maybe I wouldn't have been getting it before. And so for this recipe, I know, Carla, you suggested the sour cream. I'm going to use the yogurt instead. And this dressing I was pretty excited about in general because it seems like it's pretty heavy with peppers, and I love peppers. And this recipe calls for pimentos, for a bell pepper, for the peppers in the chili sauce, and dried peppers in that paprika. So I think I'm really, with this substitute, I anticipate really liking this dressing a lot. The other thing that I am extra excited about this recipe for is this chili sauce, because in one of the recipes that I used before, maybe the French dressing or something, I had to use a chili sauce, and I bought it from the store. I believe it was just a Heinz brand chili sauce, and really it was so disappointing. It tasted like just ketchup. But I found in my pantry, I had 1 jar left of my Nani's chili sauce, and she makes an incredible chili sauce. I'm so grateful that I had it in my pantry. So my grandmother is going to be a part of this recipe here, and that makes it just about a guarantee that this is going to be amazing. It's dinner day and we are ready to get started. If you watched last week's video, you might remember me saying something about needing to go on an adventure to get some of the ingredients for today's meal. That's because today's meal is veal loaf. No one in my area carries veal that I could find. I went to all of the grocery stores and several butchers, and none of them do veal. So I was going to need to travel several hours away to a specialty butcher down near Pittsburgh. Thankfully, I have some friends that came to visit a few days ago, and they have a fabulous butcher with them. Tom's Meats, I believe is what it's called, and they had ground veal. So not only did they save me an entire day's worth of work going down to pick that up, but they got the veal already ground, so they saved me a step in this process. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Now, we actually have already started one of the recipes this morning. I got the syruped figs going as soon as I woke up. That way they had plenty of time to chill before the rest of the dinner was ready. I'm going to go ahead and drop that footage first thing now, and then we'll get started on everything else. So let's go ahead and get going. I do have to say that this pork that we use in many of these recipes makes a fabulous moisturizer. My hands feel so supple at the moment. I have a little bit of this meatloaf left over, and I don't want to overcrowd the loaf pan, but it's definitely not enough to make a second loaf. So I'm just gonna experiment a little bit and see if meatballs work out. We get a little bonus meal out of this recipe here. When you or your grandma or mom or great grandma were making meatloaves, do you remember them or yourself ever making a little bit extra and making meatballs? I know that we're working on 1920s recipes and that this apron is definitely a 70s apron, but let's just get a little appreciation for this. Isn't this so adorable? My girl Diane pointed this out to me at a church sale, and I'm really grateful she did because it is so stinking cute. I decided to go with the canned oysters because I didn't really have access to fresh. And when I went to find the canned oysters, I could only find them smoked and packed in oil. So I imagine the flavor of this soup will be a little bit different than what they intended. But if these are smoked and packed in oil, I imagine that the flavor will be maybe a little bit enhanced compared to what it would have been back then. So I'm not sure if I like oysters or not. I don't remember having them in my adult life. So I'm a little nervous to try it, but really looking forward to it. They smell kind of sweet. I'm definitely really looking forward to these now. I don't smell a lot of smokiness in them. It smells a little more sweet than what I expected. I don't know why I expected very fishy smell. I guess just because they come from the sea, I expected it would be fishy, but these smell quite pleasant. I'm really looking forward to it. Well, this does say to cook it in its liquor. This was packed in oil, and so I don't think that's exactly what they mean. So I'm gonna drain the oil off of these, and then I think there's probably enough flavor left in there. I'll kind of cook them up a little bit in some water, and hopefully that will plump them up enough without making them very greasy. Woo! Runaway oysters there. And you can see all that oil kind of rising to the top there. The insides of these look pretty gross. It's pretty green. I don't want to imagine what that is inside of there. I'm just going to pretend I didn't see it, and that way I won't think about it when I eat it. Just kidding, I'll definitely be thinking about that when I'm eating it. I didn't have mace and I couldn't find it in any of the stores that I checked. I didn't check far and wide, but I figured I could just use nutmeg as a substitute, and it already is a little bit, the flavor is a little bit off of what the intended flavor for this recipe is, so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal in the long run. All the fat from that pork and butter and the veal is still bubbling. It's nice and hot. I think I might drain some of this fat off so that it's not so greasy and it's a little more meaty than greasy. It's time and I am ready to dig into this. We're ready to try our dinner. I have worked up quite an appetite and I am very excited to try this. First thing we have is our oyster soup. As I started cooking the oysters, the smell of the sea definitely started coming out of it. I don't know, based on the smell, how much I will love this, but I would like to keep an open mind about it. The recipe did say if you wanted it to be thicker, you could add cracker dust or a roux to it. I decided to just leave it how it is. We, of course, are definitely putting oyster crackers on because they're adorable. But let's get some of those in there and try this out. Okay. Yeah, it definitely smells fishy, and I can smell the smokiness of it at this point. Let's just see that a little bit better. Got a nice oyster in there. And, of course, I had to Google what exactly was inside the green stuff inside of there, and it's all of its digestive juices and enzymes and the chlorophyll in there. So we're gonna eat the whole thing. I think I like it less than what I initially thought when I first smelled these oysters. I like it more than what I thought I would when I smelled the whole thing coming together. Overall, I think maybe it might be a little bit better if the oysters were fresh. The texture of it, they kind of mush a little bit, and maybe I overcooked them, but probably, I imagine, if they were pressure canned, they got cooked and pressurized inside of that tin. So it's not bad. It's not something I would make again, but it's something that I think I would look forward to trying if somebody else made it with fresh oysters. I definitely think I taste the inside, the mantle, what it's called. It tastes a bit like seaweed inside. So I definitely am getting that taste, and I quite enjoy that. But yeah, overall, it's okay. Let me try it with just the broth and see what I think of just the broth. I wasn't sure what to expect when I added the nutmeg, which was supposed to be mace. I wondered how those flavors would come together. But with the kind of milky broth and that briny oyster, that nutmeg adds a nice layer to it. I like it a lot. Next up is the veal loaf. There is an option to have it with the tomato sauce. Obviously, we're having it with the tomato sauce. Actually, let's take a look at how much it shrunk when I drained off all of that grease. Let's look at what's left. Okay, let's pour some of that tomato sauce over top of it here. Oh yeah, that's a nice thick sauce. I'm gonna try it without the sauce and then with the sauce, of course. It smells good. That's delicious. That is really, really, really good. The fattiness inside, there's such a good mouthfeel. That kind of sounds weird to say, but it almost, when you're chewing, it almost coats the inside of your mouth with that grease, I guess. Oh, I'm not making this sound appetizing at all. Try this recipe, taste it, and then maybe you'll understand what I mean. Let's try it with a little bit of that tomato sauce, maybe give it a little bit of an acidic kick here. The tomato sauce smells good. Kind of want to eat it as a soup. Oh yeah. Oh boy. Ooh. This is amazing. Did any of you make this in your life, or your parents, your grandparents? Did they make this veal loaf and tomato sauce for you? Because I've had meatloaf, and you know, you have the quintessential meatloaf with the ketchup topping or whatever it is on top. This outshines all of them. This is so good. I need to stop because I need to leave room for everything else, but I just want to kill this whole thing. I can say for certain the ducks will not be getting a single bite of this. Okay, one more bite. I have to take a pause on this meatloaf and give everything else a chance to eat. It's killing me a little bit because, ooh, I want to just eat this whole thing and maybe even cut myself another piece. But we've got to go with the potatoes and the lima beans. Now, if you saw before, the potatoes look quite gray, and that's because we prepped them yesterday and put them in the fridge overnight to wait without pouring that milk over top of them. They oxidized a little bit, or a lot of it. So there's nothing wrong with them. They're just a little bit darker than normal. They smell really good. This strikes me as a scalloped potato, and maybe that's exactly what this is. Yeah, this is just a delicious scalloped potato. It just needs cheese. That's great. Let's try it with the meatloaf. Could just be an excuse to eat more of the meatloaf. I don't know. The pairing of all of those and the texture of it is really, really nice. All of this, probably, if you watched last week's video, which was definitely not anywhere close to as good as this, everything was very soft and mushy. And we've got these lima beans here, which are going to be a little bit, I mean, not as mushy, but a little bit mushy. It's following the same texture as last week's, but definitely not following that same flavor. And lima beans next. I love, love, love lima beans. My nanny, who, if you remember from a few minutes ago, she made the chili sauce that's in our dressing that we're going to eat here shortly. She makes a killer lima bean casserole that I believe she learned from her mother-in-law, and I don't think she was ever allowed to give the recipe away, but she did give it to me. And it has molasses, brown sugar, lima beans, salt, some other things, and you add sour cream toward the end. Although I'm sure these lima beans are great, what I will probably do is take the rest of them and make that casserole with these lima beans, because these might be good, but Nani's recipe is way better. So let's try these out. Oh, they're great. It tastes like salted lima beans, which is delicious. A beautiful way to get a little more fiber and protein in with this meal for everyone who maybe was working a heavy job. And some of you have commented that the recipes or the dinners here seem like they're for a family who has help in the home, maybe a maid, a cook, some kitchen help. And you're right about that. There's actually a whole section in the front talking about that. And if everyone's interested, maybe a little later I'll do a supplemental video that'll come out on a different day of the week, and I'll explain or read and show you all the stuff in the beginning of this. But I don't know where that train of thought was going. It was going somewhere. I don't know where it was going. I'm gonna try this stuff together. This is a meal that just makes you feel happy. In case you're wondering, I'm not having coffee, although it calls for it. I'm having mint tea, which doesn't really, I guess, go with this stuff, but it's delicious, so I'm having it. All right. Look at how pretty that dressing is. You can see all the different colors and all the different peppers that are inside of this. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this tastes, and thank you so much for that suggestion about, instead of mayo, using sour cream, which I used yogurt instead of sour cream. But I hate to waste anything, and if I like this dressing, it'll end up getting eaten all this week on all my other stuff. So let's see. It smells really, really good. It tastes really good too. The crunch is a really, really nice addition. Sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. It's so rude. Let's try that again. The crunch is a really nice addition, and the flavor combination with that yogurt and all of the different peppers is just superb. This is wonderful. And in fact, I think I probably won't just use this as a salad dressing. I would use this on chicken, maybe as a sauce on a chicken, maybe if I made tacos or something, to put it in with there. Even if I made eggs in the morning, I would use this as a sauce on my eggs. This dressing is wonderful. Those of you who already know me, or those of you who watched the 35th Sunday dinner and saw the science experiment I made out of the spiced layer cake and the frosting on that, will not be surprised to learn that I was eating my breakfast this morning while I was cooking those figs in the syrup, and I forgot about them a little bit and cooked the syrup a bit too long, and so we again have, instead of figs in syrup or syruped figs, we have, we'll say, candied figs at this point because, yeah, quite hard. So let's get the ones on top that we can get off there, and we will try those. Of course, it says we have to have some whipped cream on there. I actually don't remember if it says we have to, but the option was put out there for us, and so, of course, we are going to. This one, the one that was a little bit lighter when we noticed filming, it's still pretty hard. It just occurred to me that the fig might not be hard, it might be the syrup. Let's try it. Maybe that's a candy shell. No, it's not. It's a fig. It might have been just a little extra dry from before. Flavor's good. Texture's just kind of a lot. Okay, let's try this nice and plump one instead. It's very, very squishy. Looks delicious. Got a little bit of the nuts on there, the whipped cream. Ooh, that is so yummy. It is exceptionally sweet. So that whipped cream, again, same as when I made the date tart before, which was so good. But when I made that, I did not sweeten the whipping cream. I didn't do it here either. I'm very glad that I didn't, because it's a nice balance with how sweet those figs are. If I did them again, maybe I would cut back a little bit on the sugar, or maybe I would pay attention. Let's be real, I wouldn't. But if you're making them, pay attention a little bit better so that the sugar isn't quite so concentrated. And one of you made a really, really great point about some of these recipes are really, really almost way too sweet, almost cloyingly sweet. Now, this, I wouldn't say it's gone over the edge of cloying at this point, but without that whipped cream, it might be. And one of you did make mention that a lot of people smoked or chewed at the time, and that would have dulled their taste buds. So maybe some of these flavors that are a little bit stronger, like that really strong sweetness of that, might have been due to the preferences of people who were chewing and smoking at the time. I don't know. It makes sense. I'd never had considered something like that, but it absolutely makes sense. Now, I really thought that the chicken recipe, both of the chicken recipes before, were going to be my favorite, but this might have been my favorite dinner so far. Every single thing, except maybe the oyster stew, absolutely hit it out of the park. These recipes were so delicious. I really hope that you try some of them at home. If you do, let me know what you thought of them. And if you liked what you saw today, please consider liking and subscribing. That way you can join the community, join the conversation, and watch as we continue to make all 52 of these Sunday dinners. Thank you so much for being here today, and please join us next week where, among everything else that we're making, we try pudding again with a chocolate walnut pudding, and we make another one of my favorite vegetables, turnips. See you next week.